What happens when an NBA player finally gets fed up with a journalist's antics? From DeMarcus Cousins losing his cool after a personal jab. Coward? Say whatever you want about me, but don't bring up my mother. To Russell Westbrook, completely shutting down a reporter mid-question. Are you upset with something? I just don't like you. You don't? No. These are the unforgettable moments when NBA players checked reporters and made it clear who was in charge. Let's start with Pascal Siakam. Pascal Siakam had an especially tense encounter with journalist Greg Doyle following the Pacers Game 5 loss to the Knicks on May 29, 2025. But calling it tense would be a major understatement. It was like calling a tornado a light breeze. The conditions were ripe for disaster. The Indiana Pacers had just suffered a brutal 111-94 defeat at Madison Square Garden, squandering a golden opportunity to clinch the Eastern Conference Finals on the road. They were up 3-2 in the series, and this loss forced a must-win Game 6 back in Indiana. Siakam, who had struggled throughout the game and only managed 15 points on 5 of -13 shooting, was visibly frustrated when he entered the post-game press conference, and this is where things took a turn. Not just awkward, but absolutely savage. During the Q&A, Greg Doyle of the Indy Star asked Siakam whether the Knicks simply outplayed and out-hustled the Pacers. On the surface, it might have sounded like a fair question, but context matters. This is the same reporter who had recently made an inappropriate comment to WNBA star Caitlin Clark during a Fever presser, a comment that ultimately got him kicked off the Fever beat. Initially, Siakam responded professionally, acknowledging, "Yeah, they played harder than us." But then Doyle decided to push his luck. How is that possible? Siakam looked up, caught off guard. What do you mean? Doyle doubled down. How is it possible to not fight hard enough in a game? 5. That was the moment Siakam had officially had enough of whatever game Doyle was playing. You're good. You're good, bro. You're looking for something. I know. ... But damn. Then came the knockout punch. The line that instantly went viral. Who is this guy? Who's this guy? What's your name? Bro. The dismissive delivery, the genuine confusion, the total refusal to acknowledge Doyle's legitimacy. It wasn't just a clapback, it was a public undressing. And what made it especially devastating was the history behind it. Doyle's pattern of questionable behavior, including the Caitlin Clark incident, gave Siakam every reason to be fed up. He wasn't just responding to a single dumb question, he was addressing a toxic pattern. Now let's move on to LeBron James. LeBron's had his fair share of memorable media moments, but few as flawlessly executed as his infamous walkout. During the 2018 NBA Finals, the moment came after Game 1 of the series, and LeBron had just delivered one of the most legendary individual finals performances ever. 51 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists. But that performance was wasted due to a now infamous mental lapse by J.R. Smith. With the game tied in the final seconds, Smith secured an offensive rebound, and instead of going for a game-winning shot or calling timeout, he dribbled out the clock, thinking the team was ahead. The game went to overtime, and the Cavs lost. Now, imagine being LeBron, having done everything humanly possible to win, and now you've got to sit through a media circus. Enter ESPN's Mark Schwartz, a veteran reporter known for Outside the Lines and SportsCenter, LeBron Mark Schwartz ESPN. There's still confusion about whether JR thought the game was tied, or if he thought you were ahead. From your perspective, what's your reaction? LeBron, clearly exhausted and irritated, replied, "How do I know that?" Schwartz didn't back off. Did you talk to him after the play? LeBron sighed, visibly holding back his frustration. Schwartz pressed again. Did he know the score? That was it. LeBron stood up, grabbed his sunglasses and bag, and walked out, but not before firing one last line. Be better tomorrow. That phrase wasn't just shade, it was a lesson. It was LeBron's way of saying, you can keep badgering me with nonsense, but I'm not going to entertain it. Do better. But this wasn't LeBron's only tense moment with the media. Back in 2011, after a playoff loss to Boston, he muttered the R-word under his breath in frustration, a moment he later publicly apologized for, saying, "If I offended anyone, I sincerely apologize." In 2014, during pre-game interviews, he snapped at a question about Kevin Durant's passing, using inappropriate language, and again had to apologize. These earlier moments showed a younger LeBron still figuring out how to manage the media spotlight. By 2018, he had mastered it. The Be Better Tomorrow moment was polished, controlled, and brutal in its elegance. Now let's talk DeMarcus Cousins. If there's one thing Boogie Cousins doesn't play about, it's his family. In December 2016, Cousins erupted at Sacramento, columnist Andy Ferrillo for referencing his brother in a story. Ferrillo had written about an altercation involving Cousins and Matt Barnes at a nightclub, and in the article, he brought up a separate 2016 incident involving Cousins' brother, Jaleel, who had been arrested in Florida after a scuffle. Two Cousins. That was a low blow. It wasn't about basketball anymore. It was personal. In the Kings locker room after a game against the Lakers, Cousins walked straight up to Ferrillo and let him have it. "Don't ever mention my brother again." You don't. No, my brother. Coward. Say whatever the F** you want about me, but don't mention my mother. Asterisk. The raw emotion was undeniable. Boogie wasn't yelling for attention. He was defending his family's name. And in that moment, everything else, the game, the press, the cameras disappeared. The Kings fined Cousins $50,000 but stopped short of suspending him. In their statement, they emphasized professionalism and code of conduct. But the follow-up was even more powerful than the outburst. Cousins issued a public apology. There's a time, place, and manner to say everything, and I chose the wrong ones. Like most people, I'm fiercely protective of my friends and family, and I let my emotions get the best of me. I understand my actions were inexcusable, and I'm committed to living up to the standards of the Kings and the NBA. That balance of defending what matters while owning your actions made the moment resonate. Now, Chris Paul. Sometimes the best clapbacks don't come from rage, they come from sarcasm served ice cold. In 2017, during the NBA playoffs, the Clippers were facing elimination against the Jazz. After losing Game 5, a reporter asked Paul, "Chris, will the Clippers be back here Sunday for Game 7? Paul blinked. "What?" The reporter rephrased. That's when Paul let loose. "What you think? I'm on the team. You think I'm gonna say, no, it's over? I mean, that's what you want to hear. Come on, man, you've been doing this long enough." That sarcastic takedown was surgical. He exposed the absurdity of the question with humor and poise. And here's the kicker. The Clippers did win Game 6, with Paul scoring 29 points, but they lost Game 7, ending their season. Still, that interaction became iconic because Paul didn't just answer, he educated finally. Russell Westbrook and Barry Trammell. Russell Westbrook's rocky relationship with media is the stuff of legend, but his beef with Oklahoman columnist Barry Trammell took it to another level. It boiled over during the 2019 playoffs after Game 4 against Portland. But to really understand it, you need to know Westbrook had been the king of media shutdowns for years. Remember when a reporter asked him if James Harden was a max player? No more questions for you, bro. Or the time he interrupted a reporter trying to sound smart. Say what now? You're using all these big words. Just ask the question. And then, perhaps the most infamous moment of all, when Trammell tried to ask a basic question and Westbrook shut it down completely. "We did a good job executing. Are you upset with something? I just don't like you. That's it. End of discussion." These moments weren't just players standing up for themselves. They were athletes drawing lines in the sand, refusing to let the media spin their narratives unchecked. And every once in a while, they left behind iconic, unforgettable moments that reminded the world even legends have limits.